This is an intermediate English listening practice. It comes from Book 6 of the Intermediate English Comprehension series, which has over 4,000 positive reviews on Amazon. Listen carefully and use the subtitles to improve your vocabulary and comprehension.
When the RMS Titanic set sail on its maiden voyage in April 1912, it was the largest and most luxurious ship ever built. Carrying more than 2,200 passengers and crew, it was believed to be unsinkable. Yet only 4 days later, the Titanic struck an iceberg in the North Atlantic and sank in less than 3 hours. Over 1,500 people lost their lives in one of history's most terrible ocean disasters. Today, more than a century later, the story of the Titanic still captures the imagination. Facts and figures help us understand what happened, but it is the human stories that show what people experienced on that freezing night. Let's take a closer look at a few of them. The musicians who played to the end. Perhaps the most famous story is that of the ship's 8 musicians. Led by Wallace Hartley, the band continued to play even as passengers rushed to the lifeboats. Survivors later described hearing cheerful tunes helping to steady the nerves of terrified travelers. The musicians had no obligation to stay. They could have tried to escape. Instead, they stayed, offering comfort in the final hours. All 8 men died, and Hartley's violin was later recovered from the wreck, becoming a symbol of their courage. The unsinkable Molly Brown. Among the passengers was Margaret Brown, later nicknamed the unsinkable Molly Brown. Born into a poor family in the United States, Brown had become rich through her husband's success in mining. On the Titanic, she was traveling alone after visiting Europe. When the evacuation began, Brown helped other passengers find life jackets and seats in the boats. Once in lifeboat number 6, she urged its crew to return to rescue more people. Although the sailors refused, believing it too dangerous, Brown continued to support and encourage the others until they were picked up by the rescue ship Carpathia. Her bravery turned her into an international heroine and a lasting part of Titanic legend. The Strauss couple who refused to separate, one of the most moving stories is that of Isidore and Ida Strauss, an elderly couple who owned a famous New York department store. When Ida was offered a place in a lifeboat, she refused to leave her husband behind. "We have lived together for many years," she said. "Where you go, I go." Witnesses recalled seeing the couple seated calmly on deck as the water rose around them. Their loyalty became a symbol of devotion in the face of tragedy, and a memorial fountain in New York still honors their remarkable choice. A young man's escape. Not every tale ends in heartbreak. 15-year-old Jack Thayer, a first-class passenger, was separated from his parents during the chaos. Unable to find a place in a lifeboat, he jumped into the icy water as the ship's stern lifted into the air. After fighting for survival in the darkness, he reached an overturned boat and clung to it until morning. Thayer later wrote a detailed account of the sinking, providing historians with one of the most descriptive eyewitness descriptions. Sadly, he never fully recovered from the trauma, but his testimony has helped the world understand what passengers experienced that night. Why these stories still matter. The sinking of the Titanic forced major improvements in ship safety, including stricter rules about lifeboats, communication, and emergency routines. However, the disaster continues to resonate because it reminds us how ordinary people respond when faced with extraordinary danger. Some showed selflessness, others resilience in the face of fear. More than 100 years later, these human stories ensure that the Titanic is remembered not simply as a ship, but as a human tragedy that continues to echo through history.
If you'd like the full text with comprehension questions and vocabulary explanations, Book 6 is available on Amazon. The link is in the video description below.